and graduate engineer with the Board of Engineers Malaysia.
Yes, Xiaomin. Ms. Hemavathi has been involved in some projects where her involvement has been recognized with Sustainability Award and All Palm Award in ICAP Award 2020 National. She graduated from National University of Malaysia and earned a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and Master of Science degree specializing in chemical and engineering process.
Not only that, she's also attached to the Chemical Engineering Department, National University of Malaysia, as an industrial mentor for the Process Plant Design Project. Without further ado, let us invite Ms. Hemavathi for her sharing speech. Please welcome.
My test. All right. So nice to see you guys here today. So thank you to the MC. I'm Hema from Sime Darby Plantation. So I'm very proud of you guys today, despite it being a Saturday weekend. Y'all are here listening to an industrial talk. So I think you deserve a tap. All right. So let me go into a bit of Sime Darby Plantation. Basically, we are the world's largest producer of certified sustainable palm oil. It's an integrated company. So what it means by the integrated company is that we cover across the upstream, midstream, and also downstream. We have about 70 palm oil mills, 9 refineries spread across in Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Island. Our refineries are also located in Thailand, UK, Netherlands, and also South Africa. We have few kernel crushing plants, biodiesel plant, and we are present in over 90 countries, which covers the sales office as well. So basically, with all these operating units, we are employing close to 80,000 talents globally. So what Sime Darby is trying to thrive in the industry, right? So of course, our motto is developing sustainable futures. That means we are committed to net zero emission by 2050. On top of that, we are very much focused in R&D innovation, adhering to the Industry 4.0 in palm oil mills. So yeah, once you guys are done studying and all that, I think it's pretty new for now. So after the, maybe, how many of y'all are from STPM? I mean, sitting for STPM, none? Matriculation? Oh, so almost all of you are from Matriculation College. So how many of y'all are from the northern, southern? Anybody from the Sabah, Sarawak? Okay, nice. So I think anywhere you go across Malaysia, you will find palm trees, right? Driving up north, down south. So it's something very familiar in Malaysia, palm oil. So I think that brings us why we are talking about the secrets to the wonderland palm oil today. Next, so yeah, jumping into the palm oil story. So basically, why is it very important to talk about palm oil? What does it actually do, right? So basically, when we look at, this, palm by far is the most efficient crop. So how do we define this? If you take a look at this graph, it actually talks about how much of land is needed to produce 1 ton of vegetable oil, right? So from the bottom here up to palm oil up to sesame seed, to produce 1 ton of vegetable oil, palm takes the least and only at 0.34 hectares as compared to olive oil 3, sesame seed 13, and palm oil production cost is also lowest by that mean. So it outmatches all the other crops in terms of efficiency per used land. And this this graph here shows what it means in terms of the usage and production. So how do we translate this 0.34 to in actual usage? So in year 2018, to produce 36% of production, the palm only needed 8.6 of agricultural land, right? So that actually describes how palm is by far the most efficient crop. All right, next. So how much are we producing and why do we need to produce? So we know that with growing population, so we are in now 2023, by 2050, we are expecting a growing population at 9.7 billion. And that means the demand for global vegetable oil is also subsequently increasing. And to that, the agriculture land, whatever crops that we are growing, it's going to increase also. And where are these oil palm trees grown? Basically on the equator region, right? The highest or the largest producer is Malaysia and Indonesia. We are supplying close to 85% of palm oil, right? And in 2022 last year, Malaysia exported close to 15.35 million tons of palm oil, which is equivalent to 31% of world export. That is how much is part of this 85% is. And palm oil producer in whole, they play a major role in closing the gap in for the shortage of global vegetable oil. So we saw who's producing it. So Malaysia and Indonesia is here. On top of that, we do have plantations in South Africa, Mexico, Brazil, India and China has started to grow oil palm as well. They are trying it out. So probably with that, we will be able to cater that 9.7 billion in the coming future. All right, so we produce for whom? Basically, palm oil imports go to around the globe, right? The largest importer of palm oil is in India, China and EU, and next to that is Middle East countries. That accounts for almost 50%. And what is it being used? So global supply for food being the highest demand, there's also a huge demand for bioenergy. So the accounts for this vary country to country. For example, UK and Germany, they largely import palm oil for biodiesel, bioenergy. Alright, and so y'all are aware, like other than palm oil, earlier we saw there is soybean oil, the next highest producer of global oils and fats. Then we also have sunflower, sesame. So those mainly come from EU, Ukraine. So last year we saw Ukraine and Russia crisis, which sort of hampered the supply in the sunflower and rapeseed oil. So we largely actually catered to close that gaps. And in coming terms, I think we will have more issues with this climate change and all that. So being the most efficient crop, I think we sort of like will be there, you know, sustainably in the future to cater for this. All right, maybe. Actually, when you walk into a supermarket, right, KK, whatever supermarkets is it, Jaya Grocer, you will find palm oil in almost every product that you will find off the shelf. You know, from your morning toothpaste up to the supplements that you take, your shampoos, your chocolates, your buns, bakery goods. So over here, palm oil is used largely in fruit products, 24 in customer goods, as I mentioned earlier, and 5% in bioenergy. Bioenergy here largely contributes to biodiesel. So if you go to a petrol station, you will find RON 95, you'll find RON 97, and you will also find biodiesel. So right now in Malaysia, we are doing blending. B7, B10 is mandated. Indonesia is at B30. Okay, what it means by B30, like if you go to the petrol station, right, on the price marking, you will see they put there B7, B10. That means how much of biodiesel, palm-based biodiesel is being blended to the diesel, right? That's what it means by B7 to B30. And why palm are used in so many products? Because of its composition. So basically, palm contains of 50% saturated, 50% unsaturated, and it contains a lot of tocopherols, tocotrienols, phenolic contents, makes it as a natural preservative. It's very stable. It goes for, when used for cooking, you know, like a lot of our oil are being sold to KFC, McD. They use it largely for frying all your chickens, right? So it's very stable. The oxidative stability is very high. It doesn't spoil easily. And because of the consistency, it is largely used in bakeries. And it is a foaming agent, so you are able to use it in your soaps, shampoos, and it is further processed to be used in cosmetics, your lipsticks, makeup products, right? It's almost everything. And all the biomasses from palm processing, it's used for like animal feed, you know, energies as well. All right, next. All right, so despite of all the goodness, I think maybe some of y'all familiar with this negative perceptions. I think anything that is good in the world, right, it comes with slightly all these anti-campaigns and all that. So, but I think a lot of this coming from UK, US, that we are killing the orangutans. I don't deny that. That's not that there was never deforested, right? So in this world, right, so say about 70% is sea, right? The balance 30% is habitable land. And of that, there's a greater, there's almost, I think 50% of it is being forest, right? Another 50% is there left behind forest to do everything else. We have to reserve that for the better goods of us and also our next, the next generations. But I think talking about that, right, I'd like to highlight on the Sustainable Development Goals. How many of y'all are familiar with this SDGs by United Nations? All right. How many of those goals are there? Okay, there are 17 of it. So the first starts with zero hunger, no poverty, equal opportunities, so and so forth, and then planet. So it covers people, planet, and prosperity. So I think when it comes to sustainable development, right, it has to be on a balance. We need to make sure the people are fed. We need to make sure the earth is fine for our next generation. So why I'm talking about that? Deforestation has been a big issue that is evolving around palm industry. But in reality, I'm not saying that we are okay if you are the third or fourth, right? The largest contributor is livestock, cattle ranching, soy production. But that doesn't mean that we can continue to do things that we are not supposed to do. So a lot of companies have signed up policies, a lot of serious measures are being taken, be it Sime Darby, Calcade, players in Indonesia, right? So everybody is now looking at sustainable palm oil production because it's needed. So the answer to it is to do it sustainably, to do it rightly. So why doing it sustainable palm oil? So addressing the SDG goals, we need to support poverty reduction, affordable food prices, at the same time protect environment, safeguard social interests, job opportunities for the smallholders, for the people in the rural, for the orang asli, and also fulfilling the increasing global food demand. So sustainables, both in, I think, overall across the globe, we have several bodies of sustainable palm oil auditing body, RSPO, MSPO, and ISPO, and all the big players are also complied to this NDPE, no deforestation, no exploitation policies. So it comes as due diligence in order to deliver that product towards the end of production line, right, across the supply chain. Biogas and biomass utilization. This means that we are working towards circularity. Nothing is going wasted. Whatever that's being produced as a byproduct or residues, it's being used back, right? By this, we are reducing the carbon footprint. Traceability. So we are, with all this due diligence, with everything being covered, reported, we will be able to track, like if you find like a shampoo product, right? So we will know where is the oil coming from, up to which palm. So we have that sort of traceability being worked on for this palm industry. Okay, next. So of all those things that I mentioned earlier, efficient in what it's doing, so what that means to the world. With the growing population of that 9.7 billion and increasing life expectancy, there's a raising concern of food security, safety, and sustainability. That means the consumption is increasing up to 250 million tons. So there was a study done by Dr. James Fry from LMC, who's based in UK, his company. What basically the study says that by 2050, to fit that 9.7 billion, the world will lose 145 million hectares if we were to only depend on soy, sunflower, rapeseed, other than palm oil. So, but this number with palm oil is only 10 to 14 million. And that too, if it's done across sustainably, it is going to be very promising, right? Okay, yeah. So with that means that I think it's sort of like the magic potion of the oil. So palm oil remains the golden oil that is there to feed and save the world. Okay, basically you might think that why am I talking so good at palm oil? Not because I'm from Sime Darby. I think I can relate to, my grandfather used to have some plantation. He used to work there. My mom used to pick loose fruit. So I sort of like grew up with that. Then eventually I started when I was in UKM. Eventually I ended up doing a thesis. One of my research projects was on palm oil, right, circularity. So somehow I just came back to the circle. And as I happened to be in the industry, I learned greater goods. So Malaysia, right, we have, palm oil is I think number 5th, like the GDP contributor. So our most is like oil and gas, rubber, we are the number 1 producer of rubber. So I think every of this is very important. So the question is how sustainable we do this. So if you go as a chemical engineer into any of these products, eventually you see the greater goods of it and how we make this better for the world. So I think I feel responsible to be here speaking to you guys about palm oil. I think that's why I highlighted all these greater goods of it. Maybe as you later graduate and start to applying for a job, maybe you might end up in the palm oil, not end up, you might come across the palm oil industry as well. So how palm oil processed? A bit of technicals, I think I'll just like go through a bit. Palm oil processing chain, as I mentioned earlier, it starts from the estate where the palms are grown, then later extracted. This is the kernel oil, so we have palm oil and palm kernel oil. Refinery is to further clean the oil, and all these are where your final goods are coming from, like the soaps, cosmetics, or margarine. I think you guys must have seen oil palm, right? I don't think you must be familiar with it. So this is an oil palm tree. This is how the fresh fruit punch looks like. So once these fruits are processed and detached, it looks like this, loose fruits. So when you cut across the palm fruitlet, it has this mesocarp, and inside is called kernel. So the crude palm oil largely comes from the mesocarp portion here, the fiber, and the white part here produces the kernel. Actually, if you look at, palms, right, like date fruits also come from the palm species. So there are over, I think 2,000, close to 3,000 species of palm alone. So you can like go and name, right? Of that palm species, Aloes guensis is the palm that is able to produce this magic potion of palm oil, right? So we have few yieldings. In Malaysia, we're using Tenera. It's a cross between Dura and Cyphera. Yeah, so planting density. A palm has a lifespan of 25 to 30 years, right? So we call that as perennial. That means across the season, you can harvest it close to 25 years. Bunch rate, I think, yeah, we can skip that. All right, so actually our first palm, right, came to Indonesia as an ornament tree. Ornament means as a decorative plant. And then only like some 150 years ago, they started seeing the potential and they started to grow it as a plantation. So it was from Africa, and then later we see the potential and grow it to become the biggest business, right? So this is how it was done, like, very manually. And you wouldn't believe, even today, in some parts of Africa, the smallholders, they are still doing it manually. So it is to cater, they're called smallholders, to cater their local supplies, right? And in some places in Africa, they're very used to drinking palm oil. They just produce it and leave because of the tocotrienols, like vitamin E, D, K supply is very high, right? It's better, higher than carrot, in fact. So palm oil processing in a nutshell. So basically, this is my bread and butter. I work in R&D carry, focusing on palm oil milling improvements, right? So the fruits are received, it goes through sterilization process to soften the fruit, and then it threshed. So that means that the fruitlets comes out of the bunches, and then you digest, you press, you get the palm oil. So this is the clarification process to get your final CPO. When we produce any product, right, our ultimate goal is to get the maximum extraction rate and at that too the best quality. So we have certain criteria when meals produce have to meet the criteria, all right? And this is the production process for kernel. So in meals, the kernels, we just produce the kernels, right? Remove the shell. Later, those kernels will be sent to KCP, kernel crushing plant. It's a different operating unit, right? Okay, so those CPO that we produce, it is then later sent to refineries. So refineries are so basically this palm oil processing, right, the capacity goes as low as 30 metric ton per hour up to 120 metric ton. So based on the capacity, the throughput, they have their number of tanks and the designs are. So fractionation is mostly about 200 metric ton. So basically what they do, they take the CPO, they refine it. So it goes through neutralization, degumming, bleaching. Bleaching means removing the color, removing the FFA. So if in the palm oil it's up, palm oil meal it's about 5%, here it's removed up to 0.02%. Alright, and then it goes through fractionation, meaning that it's the separation of the fatty acids in the palm oil. Alright, so this is what I meant earlier. So there are two types of refining, physical and chemical way. This is very common. And concerning the quality of the palm oil, there's a chemical route as well. So we call it alkali neutralization. Bleaching is to remove the color, and deodorization is to remove the FFA. So at the end of the process, you have stirring and oiling. So basically, this is the CPO, how it looks like. This is the refined. It will be it will be bleached. And the oiling part is actually the unsaturated. Stirring part is the saturated fatty acid. So this are mostly used in the this cocoa butter equivalent, margarine, vanaspati. Vanaspati is widely used in India as a substitute for ghee. So if you know, ghee is made from cow milk. And frying oil, very, very highest contribution. And also like salad oil. Right now we also have virgin palm oil, red palm oil, so it's diversifying. Next, I think this will be very much relatable to you guys. So I think it's sort of mid-afternoon. Hope you guys are still with me. We'll just pass through this. Okay, so maybe I can call a few of you all. So I was told by the committee members that they opened